So the civil war in Syria is ongoing still. There was some fighting going on in the northwest part of the country on the coast, and supposedly this is an area where there's a concentration of Alawites. The Alawites were the group that were previously in charge with Assad, that tribal group, if you will. But and I've made this prediction. A lot of people have made this prediction that with the new leadership, with this essentially this Al Qaeda guy that has taken over, that Syria will not end its civil war. That the civil war will continue, and there are a lot of factors to that. There's obviously competing interests there, but it's that that the type of culture in the Middle East, people are very tribal, and it's all about which tribe's in charge. And this is the way it works in a lot of the world. The United States, it doesn't work that way because we have a creed that brings Americans together. We talk about, the pursuit of happiness, the right of self-determination, that kind of thing. Rugged individualism is the creed that the United States is built on, which I think is far better than the tribal mentality that most countries are in. That's also the reason why you get countries like Japan or South Korea, and you see how stable they are because ethnically they're homogeneous. And then you look at former Yugoslavia with the little linguistic and ethnic differences, and you saw what happened there. So Syria is a relatively resource poor country. I mean, yes, there are some oil fields. Yes, there's some agriculture there. But and of course, with the instability, you can't expect there to be a healthy economy there. A lot of the smart people have left. So you have the brain drain issue there as well. What I think is going to eventually happen to Syria is that a foreign power will eventually just take over. Which has been the case prior to World War II through practically all its history. The Middle East, you have to have a large power and a strong man to make anything stable, as long as people have this tribal mentality. This tribal mentality goes back eons, and it's by no means no exception in the Middle East. I think most likely it's going to be Turkey. It's going to be a neo-Ottoman Empire that comes in. And I don't say this really jokingly, but I think that's probably the most realistic outcome in this region, given that Syria is right on Turkey's border, given the fact that you have Kurds in Syria, and they have something like a de facto Kurdish independent state, which is a problem for Turkey because you have a Kurdish separatist movement in the southeast part of Anatolia. So I can foresee that Turkey would roll in there and try to occupy Syria. Israel's too small of a country in terms of their population. They're having a hard time just shaping their environment. Egypt's got a lot of its own problems. Yes, they have a large, they do have they have a large pool of manpower, but they're not going to get past Israel. And Iran is, I guess Iran could in theory do that as well. They can have a Neo-Persian empire, but a lot of the people in the area have an opinion on that. They're not going to just allow that easily, with the exception maybe some parts of Iraq where it's majority Shia. But anyway, I can foresee Turkey dominating the Middle East out of necessity, by the way, just because it's so unstable in that region south of their border, that I can foresee that Turkey will try to come in and try to impose some kind of order. Which is actually a burden in many ways to Turkey. Yes, there is oil there that they could use for their economy. However, the juice honestly is not worth the squeeze. I mean, what else do they gain in that area? There's not really anything there in the Middle East, in Syria at least. Syria, Jordan, You'd have to get to the other side of the Middle East towards the Persian Gulf, where you actually have the large oil deposits. So, um, what is it worth? Well, maybe some security for Turkey, but yeah. In the meantime, Syria is a mess, and I don't see that anything's going to change unless the philosophy, the ideologies change, which is in the best situation is not going to happen anytime soon, if at all.